Hey guys, it's Kai here from Esports News UK, powered by Aegon by AOC and ESI London. Today I'm joined by Billie, who's from Women Esports and British Esports. So tell us about what you're doing at Insomnia, and is this your first Insomnia, or have you been here before?
Yeah, so this is actually my first Insomnia. I've been at different LAN events before, like Epic Clan and whatnot, but actually being here and working the event, it's been really good so far. So yeah, really excited for how it's been so far.
Billie was on the stage in Women Esports match, which I covered in an article which you can find on our website. So how was that experience for you? Was that what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like playing on stage and being able to provide other women with the opportunity to actually compete on LAN. Given it was a show match, but like just being up there on the stage showcasing like all this female talent was just such a good opportunity for women in esports and in the space in general. So being up there, I was pretty nervous at first because I'm more of a lower ranked player compared to these professional female players, but great experience.
And I recently saw you joined Women Esports, I think it was May 2022 this year. You started out at the Goose House doing community managing.
Mm-hmm.
So what aspect of esports kind of appealed to you the most when sort of going for us?
I don't know. I'd always played games my whole life, so kind of going into esports within the past year, I started in the Goose House, kind of volunteered for them for a bit on their tournament admin team as well, and then kind of worked my way up. Started at Esports Scotland, was their events coordinator at SEL4, and then after that I got promoted to community manager at Esports Scotland. Kind of had to come away from the Goose House because I was more tied up in there, and then British Esports came up, went for Women in Esports Manager, and it just took off after there, and the past 6 months have been amazing, so yeah.
Fantastic. And what advice would you give to young people out there trying to get into esports, and especially young girls?
So I would just say, just go for it. Like any opportunity that's coming your way, like just grab it with both hands, opportunities don't come around so often in esports, and so that's why I think it's so important that when they do come around, like just go for it. Like you might be nervous, you might be shy of what people your own age might think of you. Like I know when I was in school I was very like closet gamer, like not very open about it whatsoever, but as I've grown up I've just kind of realised that I shouldn't care what people think about me, and like if you know the work that you're doing is good and you enjoy it, then just completely go for it. Like there's nothing holding you back.
And obviously you said you don't really care what people think about you. What are your thoughts was toxicity towards women in esports? Because I know there's a lot out there, and it's a massive issue now that the community's facing, because obviously people behind on online screens, this is anonymous, so there's no repercussions really. Mm-hmm. So do you think it's becoming more toxic or less toxic, and how do you think we should combat it, if you have any thoughts about that?
It's such a hard one because it's something that game publishers themselves are trying to combat, and then you have all these initiatives like alongside women in esports. You have like NEG, you have women in games, you have special effects, like all these organisations trying to work on the same sort of mission. I think that's why it's so important, because we all want to work alongside each other to actually achieve the end goal of making esports and gaming in general less toxic. And I think that no matter what industry you go into, there's always going to be like that person that's but it's easy to just tell women as well to just mute, and like that's not combating it. That's not the solution. So in terms of women in esports, like there's a lot of things that we're doing in the background that we've not released publicly, that we, like more things like tournaments. Of course that's going to help, but what is the end goal to that? Like how do we reduce that skill gap? How do we make these opportunities occur more often? Is what I'm trying to say. So I think the more events like Insomnia, providing that safe space for women to come and compete, come and meet people, mix with their friends, it's all about having these safe spaces to provide more opportunities is all going to help to achieve that end goal. So I think it's easy to focus on toxicity and how negative that is, but in future, like let's look at the positives going forward, and like how can we make more safe spaces available to women.
And on the back of creating safe spaces for women, is this part of the reason why you feel as though women aren't top tier organisations, like competing on CSGO, pro leagues, Overwatch, Call of Duty, and all these other quite male dominated pro things? Is that the reason why?
I think it's certainly a factor. I wouldn't say it's I wouldn't say there's primarily one specific reason. I think there's many factors that come into it, but I think the skill gap is more just a lack of opportunity. Even things like LAN events, like when you look at women tournaments, how many of them have LAN events. Like, how many women are getting to compete on stage? If you look at the prize pool, what's the difference in prize pools for male tournaments or, well, mixed tournaments compared to women tournaments, and even salaries? You know, like, we need to close these gaps that exist currently, but it's like, where do we start? Tournaments are great, but what's the end goal? So providing these opportunities, having more things like LAN events, giving women exposure is ultimately going to help us achieve that.
Perfect. And do you feel as though UK esports is sort of lagging behind, or what are your current thoughts about it in general?
Yeah, I think the esports scene, I think everyone has something to say about the UK esports scene, to be honest. I think we're going in the right direction. I mean, things like the Women in Games Global Awards, for example, like being able to showcase all these different groups and all these different categories of how games and esports and how that is growing and evolving. So we still have a long way to go. I think we'll always have a long way to go. I don't think we'll ever be truly happy with where we currently are. There's always going to be room for improvement.
And as kind of you've had some experience playing Valorant, and obviously Valorant has a bit of franchising rumours. I don't know if it's been released yet or not. I think they've put out a format of how they're going to do the tournaments. What are your thoughts about franchising in esports? And
I don't really have a public opinion on it, to be honest. Like,
well, yeah, fair enough. Is there anything you'd like to add at the end? Any shout outs?
Like to add? Let me think. Yes, well, I mean, if anyone wants to keep up with women in esports, we have our Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter. You can join our Discord. And we've actually just been nominated for the most inclusive esports initiative globally for the Women in Esports Global Awards. So keep up to date with us on that. That would be amazing if we could come away with that. And just keep up to date with us. We have some tournaments and we have different plans in the pipeline. Is there
anything you can say about plans in the pipeline?
A lot of it is hush hush. This is what I hate about it. Like, we want to share what we're doing. There's so much work going on in the background. There's definitely a tournament in the pipeline. Just follow us on socials and we'll keep everyone up to date with that.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys later.